I think for all clients, we're changing the mix. We need to be where the consumer is and where they're consuming video, but we also need to be really smart about it and using data to get there. So we have M1 in-house, which for us is our data platform in order to really get to the consumer level and the people level. And I would say, GM and other clients, but GM specifically has been doing addressable for a long time. They've been doing it since 2013, but we've evolved that mix and how much that makes up of the mix, and really took that audience-led approach in order to find where our audience is and how much we should start to shift between, if you will, day parts or platforms and devices in order to get down to that consumer level and reach the audience that we're trying to do. And I would say all the clients that I oversee are really trying to figure out that balance, and we're helping them find that balance.
So, Cara, could you explain about the M1 platform and how that's activated in terms of media buy, planning optimization, and performance?
We define our audience and get down to the audience level, usually matching data if we can, if our client would like to match the data. Getting down to that consumer level, and then basically able to activate on it through the different buys. I mean, we're starting out, with social, but we're planning against an audience. We're using, we've created some proprietary tools internally that have that data pumped into it, so we can figure out what day part mix really makes sense in terms of video based on that audience, and then where the reach kind of tops off, and then where we can take that additional savings really from where the reach tops off to invest in those other areas like addressable or advanced television, audience buys within the networks, or programmatic TV, to get down to that more granular level and more effective level against the audience.
So is it about performance? Is it about sort of reach? And how do you sort of value these addressable buys?
I think in some ways it's a little bit about everything that you just said, performance and reach, but I don't know that we're necessarily at the full performance level yet within linear buys or within television video buys. We're trying to get there, and I think in some parts of the buy, a percentage is maybe getting some outcomes out of it. But I think, it is where is reach leveling off, because we can't continue to pump the same amount of money into linear TV. It's definitely an awareness driver. It's definitely still works, and we've proven that. But with the ratings down, you can't continue to put the same amount of money there. So I think it's, yes, where does reach kind of top off, and where can we take some of that money and invest in some of these advanced areas? But then I think when we invest in those advanced areas, what kind of outcome can we get? What kind of performance can we get out of it? So with PTV, we're getting some incremental reach, or we're conquesting, driving sales, driving in store. There's different tactics we can use when we're doing those certain buys.
What are your thoughts about opportunities now as TV changes and consumer changes and all these big players are launching these new platforms, as well as smaller ones like Tubi and Pluto and some of the other OTT players? As a buyer, how do you see it, and what do you want to understand from an investment standpoint?
I mean, for me, we talk about the fatigue of the consumer by all of these different platforms that they feel like they need to go to, because there's just so many different ways to view. But I think, we've taken an approach where we've looked at CTV and we've created a playbook of really what vendors make sense, and we can deviate a little bit depending on the client, but what vendors make up the market size, which ones can you invest in, and then why you invest there, and then which ones you can additionally invest in, and which ones to take out, and what to blacklist within each, because they're all selling the same inventory. And Pluto is sold by Viacom right now because they were bought about a year ago, I guess, maybe, or within the last year. But at the same time, if we went and bought an Amazon Fire Stick, or we went and bought a Roku, they can also sell Pluto. So we have to figure out how to take Pluto out when we're buying Roku direct. And then also, we want to also leverage when we're buying Viacom Pluto, because it can help our overall costs from a linear TV standpoint. So we have to really navigate the space to, number one, get the best out of it from a cost cost and inflation, but also make sure that we're not going to run into issues where we're getting calls from clients and they just saw 5 of our ads in the same pod. So it's definitely something that we have to navigate, and we've done a full analysis of it to be able to navigate, and I think we're pretty confident that, and we've been showing it to a lot of clients that are pretty impressed with it, to show them where they can really purchase and where it makes sense.
And speaking of clients, how is their expectations changing? I mean, that's a very general question, but what are some other issues that they're concerned about that you hear about?
I mean, I think they're concerned about privacy, obviously. They're definitely concerned about frequency capping. They don't want to annoy the consumer with them seeing 5 of their ads or 3 of their ads even in the same pod. So how can we basically frequency cap? I think we're talking about all the different platforms. We brought them Quibi. We've bought them Disney Plus. We've bought them all these different instances, and every single one of them kind of has their way of selling it or what they are selling, whether they're AVOD or SVOD. But I think it's contextually, do they make sense for their brands? Where do they see their consumers viewing more so? So I think it's just, they're constantly asking us, which one should we buy? What is your recommendation? And we're ready to do that. We're ready to let them know, because we're meeting with these partners on a daily basis and talking to them on a daily basis, and you're reading the articles on a daily basis. And I think when we started our upfront discussions for last year, we were talking about the streaming wars are going to be there, and by the time we get to going to order in September, 2 of them will be launching 2 months later. And that was Apple Plus and Disney Plus, and then you are going to have 3 more pretty much that launch all around the same time in 2020. So how do we navigate around it, and which ones are ad supported and which ones aren't? So I think it's a big navigation, but the clients are constantly asking us questions for us to help them navigate the space. And there's a lot of, I think, creative questions. What is the right creative? Is it the same creative? Because whenever we've looked to take our video dollars and invest in outside of linear and video in totality, they like that certain clients want that 30-second commercial because they need that message to get out there. And it was interesting to see an article last week where they talked about the most served ads in connected TV is 30-second ads, I think in like the 70 or 80%. So I think that's interesting, because should I create a 6? Should I create a 15? Should I create this? Should I create that? And yes, they do. I think contextually, though. I don't know that they need to change it from being a 30-second spot.